Now, we've gone through the template, we've gone through what should be there in the pitch, we've discussed, we had some examples as well. Now we'll go through a sample pitch which would make it easier for you to understand of how a business pitch would really look like when you go to an investor or a VC. So now here we have the start of the sample business funding pitch. This is a startup for an online gaming website. So they have a tagline here or a benefit line here which talks about taking hot free online games to smartphones. This is what the business plans to do. They want to take hot and free online games to smartphone users. So what's the benefit line? Now this business, the online gaming website or the app making online game company, wants to partner with owners of successful online games to migrate their titles to smartphones, and in doing so create a massive new revenue stream for the game owners and themselves. But this is a self-explanatory benefit line. It talks about the benefit that it would bring for the startup, and it talks about the benefit it would bring for the game owners. The game owners already have one revenue stream where customers play their games online using computers, but now this company wants to add a new revenue stream by converting these successful online games for people who use smartphones. So even as a smartphone user, there is a benefit for you that this company is going to make your favorite game available now on your smartphone, something that they missed to address in the benefit line. But it talks about the benefit for the game owners that would be their primary customers. Now the market problem. What is the problem statement that this startup, the gaming startup, wants to address? So online web games attract over 600 million unique online players. They have the number, they have the magnitude of a possible customer base. So this web games attract over 600 million unique online players every month. But even the largest websites in this business earn meager revenues. So irrespective of the high number of players or visitors, companies only manage to earn meager revenues. That's the basic problem statement that they want to address. The reason for low revenues is that these online games earn revenues only via advertising. So one single revenue stream for them. Something that never scales, it's not scalable, and it's difficult to optimize beyond a certain point. So they have a problem. They have mentioned what the problem is and why it is a problem, because they only have one single revenue stream. They rely only on advertising, which cannot be scaled beyond a certain point. So customers who play the games are not paying. The game owners earn revenue only because of the display advertising, which really cannot be scaled beyond a certain point. That's what they have addressed as the problem statement. Now what is their solution? So what is their insight? Their insight is that if a popular online game is converted into a mobile game and offered to consumers as a freemium is a model where customers initially get access to the product without any charges, but once they want add-on features or they want to go beyond a certain level, then they pay for it. A very popular medium for smartphone apps and online websites. So converted into mobile game and offered to consumers as a freemium, free for the first few levels of the game and charged for the subsequent levels. Anybody who really gets addicted or likes to play that game and wants to go beyond the free levels, they would charge those customers. This will be a new revenue stream. So the revenue potential from these games would explode, because now they would not be relying only on advertising as the revenue stream. Now, if a game has succeeded online, this is what they believe. If a game has succeeded online, there is a good chance that it will work on smartphones as well, because consumers like great game mechanics. If something has interested the consumers on the computer, on the internet, it's highly probable, or there is a probability that they might want to play the same game on smartphones as well. So they have an example as well. This is good to include here because now they say Angry Birds generated over $100 million last year. Now it's a loose copy of a very popular online game called Crush the Castle, a game that you have probably not heard of and one that did not generate any significant revenues. So what they say is that the original game, the Crush of Castle, which was an online game, not many people had heard of it and they did not earn any significant revenues. But Angry Bird, which is a smartphone game and a loose copy of the very good or popular game called Crush the Castle, made $100 million last year. So they present a case here that how a good online game cannot earn significant revenues while a smartphone copy of the original makes $100 million in one single year. That's their insight to the problem that they had identified in the previous slide. Now here they have an illustrative example of how a smartphone game generates 200% of the revenue of an online game. So they would say that a smartphone game would help you earn revenues which is 200% higher than the online copy or the online version of the game. So they have a calculation here, online game and the smartphone game. So what they have estimated or forecasted is players who play the game every day, so 1,000 each for online and smartphone, ads generated, so 10 ads per player, so they have 10,000 ads served, again similar for online and smartphone. Revenues generated at 1 cost per mile or CPM is used to measure advertising campaigns and revenues. So at 1 CPM, $1 CPM per 1,000 ads, revenues would be again similar, $10 and $10 for online as well as the smartphone game. Now cost of playing all 40 levels, the online game is free throughout the 40 levels, so there is no cost if as a customer, as a player, you want to play all 40 levels. So revenue for online games is 0, but the smartphone game charges 0.99 cents per level or 0.99 cents after you reach the 20th level. So on the smartphone, if you want to play beyond the 20th level, they will charge you 0.99 cents, a very reasonable amount, but it's 0 for the online version. Now this is based on previous research. They have a forecast, a estimated number, percentage of players who will pay to play additional levels. So 2% of players generally pay to play the additional levels. So paying consumers would be 20 players. Now payment received from players, 70 cents per user. So that is 99 cents minus 30%, which they would have to share with the smartphone maker, the Android or iOS in terms of Apple. So $15 US. That's the revenue that will be earned from people who would play beyond the 20th level. So total revenues earned per day for the online version, it's through advertising $10, but for the smartphone game, it's the $10 from advertising revenue and $15 from people who paid extra. So you make $25. So compared to $10, you're making $25 if the same game was made available on smartphones. And this is why they feel this is a viable business opportunity. Now what's the business proposition? To approach popular online game owners and propose to convert their game to a smartphone game without any cost to them. Now this is their selling point for the game owners. They would convert the games into smartphone games without any cost to the game owner, and also with the promise to share a 50% revenue upside. Sone pe suhaga, no cost to convert the game, but they also promise to share a 50% revenue upside, obviously after deducting our stated costs of making the game. So once they deduct the cost of converting the game, they would share 50% of the revenue as well. So for a game owner, that's a zero risk scenario. Now, as a company, we want to fund the cost of converting popular online games and benefit from the upside when these titles become successful. Now, this is the value proposition. As a company, as a promoter, they want to share the cost. They want to take the burden of paying and investing in converting the online games into smartphone games. This would make it easier for them to convince the game owners because they are providing a zero risk model for the online game owners. Now, how the business process will work, illustration of the key processes, the key steps. So first, identify potential online titles that can become smartphone hits, the next Angry Bird maybe, or the next Talking Tom maybe. Pitch the model to the owners and publishers of these games, explain them the zero risk model, explain them why this would work for them, explain them that this would give them a new revenue stream. Invest in creating the game as planned. They would pay for the conversion of the game, so invest here and then launch the game, make it popular, promote it and generate revenues. So 4 major broad steps that they have covered here of how the entire model or process will work. Now they have a proof of concept. This is good for the investors because now the startup is showing that they just don't have the plan on paper, but they have already gone ahead with a pilot run and they have the results which motivated them and tells them that they really do have a good, a viable, a sustainable business idea worthy enough of getting funded. So what's the proof of concept that they have? Now this company, the online game company that they want to start, the team worked with an online game company, it's a fictitious name, gamesxyz.in, on the concept and were able to prove the hypothesis with one of their successful games called Wonder Kid. This again is a fictitious name. Wonder Kid is the name of the game and the game owner is a company called gamesxyz.in. So the revenue earned in first week of January 2012 for the free web game link of Wonder Kid was $295.85, whereas the revenues earned in the same period for the Wonder Kid paid Android game was $1,575. The revenue stream for the online version was only ads. For the Android version was ads and the downloads. So customers paid to download the game and that gave the company extra revenue stream and they earned significantly more than the online version. So per day revenue for the online version was $42.26 and for this was $225, almost 5 times that of the online version. Now cost of development of the game, $3,000. This was funded by the game owner company and $3,000 this was funded by the online gaming company that's going to be started up. And the return of investment time, the ROI time of the game for the online version was 75 days, which is significantly lower for the smartphone version, which was only 15 days. So here you have a remarkable difference in the ROI as well as the revenue opportunity and the scalability. So now we come to the market size and potential of this online gaming startup. So now they have different reasons of why they think that they have a market size and a potential to start a business as someone who would want to convert online games into smartphone games. So they say that 61% of smartphone users play games. They would have picked this up from some research data that 61% people who own a smartphone use it to play games. 1 million Android phones are being added daily. That's a significant number. There are 1 billion smartphones in the world, so you already have 1 billion people using smartphones. Apart from that, 1 million phones, Android phones, are being added daily. Of the 100 million apps on iOS and Android, 60% are games, yet only a handful of these are hits. And there are at least 200 great online games that are smartphone worthy. Now this could be their own individual research, that out of all the available smartphone games, they feel that 200 games are great games to be converted and made hit on smartphones. So there will be a massive appetite for mobile games in the next few years. This statement shows their confidence that their business is forward looking and is going to be sustainable and viable for a few years to come. Competition mapping. They've also identified that who is a threat to them and who is their competition. So they've listed the company names, who is the primary audience for the competition, what's their revenue stream, and what was their estimated revenues in the year 2011. So NG Moco is the first competitor. The primary audience is kids and teens. So they make games and apps for only kids and teens. Virtual goods in iOS, that's how they earn. They sell virtual goods on the Apple Store. And they made a revenue in the range of 10 to 30 million US dollars in 2011. Similarly, they have for Rovio, the owner of Angry Birds, who made $50 million plus in 2011. And they have the makers of the Talking Tom, the Tom Cat, which has kids as their primary audience. I also know adults who pay for this, and they make $10 million plus in 2011. So they have the competitions, they have the revenues to showcase that this is a good segment to start up in and a good segment to invest in. So the early movers are scaling well in revenues. These three are what the early movers are, and they will be a primary competition in luring titles from online game companies for development and marketing by them. It's possible that online game companies will want to migrate their online games to smartphone games themselves. Some companies who identify the opportunity, instead of sharing 50% of the revenue, may want to convert their games and market games independently without the assistance of some other company. So we will win. They know why they will win, because we will go after smaller and lesser recognized and sometimes riskier but better researched titles. So they would bank upon their research, their intuition of which game is worthy enough of being converted and is a possible hit in the smartphone market. So what is their go-to-market plan? How do they want, or how do they wish and plan to promote their business and the company? So first, find popular online games via Comscore reports. This is the starting point. They need games that could be potential successes on the smartphone zone. So pitch a risk-free proposal to game owners, the zero risk that we talked about. Sign agreement and start production. Finish the game in 3 to 4 months, the conversion, finish it in 3 to 4 months max, staying in close touch with the game owner. You do not want to lose touch, or you do not want a communication gap. Move ahead, launch and co-promote the game on the online site for loyal customers. Market the game via app stores, blogs, and also a small dose of PR marketing, and iterate and repeat success with new games. So this is the entire go-to-market strategy. Very simple. They are relying on social media and PR marketing, but that's how they plan to take their product to the market and to their customer segment. What's their core strategy? As we spoke about, this is what talks about of why will the business work. So why would the conversion and promotion of online games to smartphone games would really work? Now the company says that we cover risks via the 50 to 0 principle. They are covering all the risks that are identified. Game owners need not risk investment in making smartphone games of their titles. This company would cover the cost of the conversion. So we take over that risk, and at a business level, we share 50% of revenue and cover 100% of the cost. So while they are covering the entire cost 100%, they are sharing 50% of the revenue. We offer know-how, knowledge, so we offer a hassle-free, lean-back process to game owners to convert their games to smartphone games, and this is a complicated industry and we take care of it. So they are making it easier and simplifying it for the game owners, and we promote and market. Another important aspect of making the business or the games a hit. We take the hit on promotions, marketing and PR, a difficult science that sometimes has negative ROIs. The constellation of games we create will help promote each other. A company which only has 2 games compared to a business that has 20 games, the business with 20 games would find it easier to reach more number of customers and more number of players. That's the what talk about here. So what's the financial model? How will it work? So invest upfront in creating game titles, earn quickly after launch from ads displayed in the games and from virtual goods and downloads that the customers or players will pay for, builds long-term equity via the IP rights of hits created, game sequels that they would launch and create, and also exploit franchise revenues. That's the entire financial model to earn revenues. And now, why have they gone to the VCs? What are they looking for? So they want $3 million cash investments that would cover 3 years of cash cost and the basic capital expenditure. That's why they have gone. But apart from the $3 million cash assistance, they also want the VCs or the investors to introduce them, the company, to online game companies and game owners with whom we could get started immediately. So apart from financial assistance, they also want partnerships or introductions or references to the game companies. That's why they have come to the VCs, and they have stated that very clearly in this slide. Now, how do they plan to spend the $3 million over 3 years? So where would they use each of these? So first is the salary cost of 3 founders. So the entire startup has been planned by 3 people. So they've designated themselves as CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Product or Process Officer, and the Chief Technology Officer. So their salary per month is $15,000 each. That comes to $540,000 for 36 months. Similarly, they have costs for occupancy for a 25-seater office in South Mumbai. They have office overheads, cost for technology, cost for the game team, which has 7 engineers, programmers, marketing guys, and 1 admin guy. They also have traveling costs and marketing costs, and that gives them the entire costing as $2.95 million, and that's why they're asking for $3 million for a period of 3 years. Now this is the revenue potential that they have for a freemium game. So now they have the key metric. Now this could be the result of each of the games that they launch. The game could be a smash hit, the game could be a huge hit, it could be a hit, a just miss opportunity, or it could be a forgive and forget game, or it could be a complete tragedy. So how will they make money? If it was a smash hit, they would think that the game would reach to 15 million players. 20% of these players would convert into players who would pay for it if the game was a smash hit. If the game was a tragedy, only 0.1% would pay to convert into a paying customer or a paying player. So revenue per user, if the game is a smash hit or a tragedy, is either $3 or $0.7. So revenue potential given 15 million customers, the percentage of people that would pay for it, and the revenue per user, if the game was a smash hit, it would be $9 million. If it was a just miss, $400,000, and if it was a tragedy, it would be $10,000. So they explain it very simply here that games could either be a tragedy, could not work, or even could go on being a smash hit, or maybe an average, a just miss, or a hit game. So they've explained the entire calculation of how much would they make depending upon the outcome of each individual game. They've also given an example here. Angry Birds has 12 million paying consumers from 41 million downloads. So that's a conversion of 30%. They've given only a 20% max conversion. So not a very aggressive outcome or aggressive forecast given the reference of Angry Birds. Again, Talking Tom has 6 million paying consumers from 40 million downloads, 15% conversion. So as per their chart, that puts Talking Tom in the huge hit category. So now they have, basis the chart shown earlier, they have a conservative revenue forecast for the next 3 years. So what they say is that in the next 3 years, they would not make any game that's going to be a smash hit or a huge hit. So again, a conservative forecast. They say that they would only achieve one hit game, the revenues being $2.25 million. They would have 4 just miss games, that's $400,000. They would have 10 games that would be in the forgive and forget category that would help them make $75,000, and they would have 9 games that would be a tragedy, completely forgetting games, and that would help them make $10,000. So they have 24 total games in different categories, no huge hit, no smash hit, and then they would make $5.5 million because of these 24 games that they would launch for smartphones. Now, out of the $5.5 million, they would deduct the costs, that is $3 million. So they left with $2.5 million, and after paying the shares for the game owners and the Android, the company would make $1.25 million in the given 3 years period. So here's a simple calculation. The VC would invest $3 million and the company would earn a profit of $1.25 million in 3 years. So it's very simple and very clearly put for the VCs and the investors to understand the revenue potential of the business, and also it is a very conservative forecast. No smash hits, no huge hits, only one hit game. Now, what are the threats that they have forecasted or that they think could happen to the business? So maybe they would have a bad choice of choosing online games that would result in poor hits and unsuccessful games. Competitive market leads to game companies demanding a minimum payment guarantee, and change in revenue share policies of iOS and Android market. Points 2 and 3 would completely change the revenue forecast and calculations. So what would be the outcome of the business that they plan? So they plan the VCs to exit either via a merger acquisition or an IPO. So it could be from an IPO if they manage to create a massive hit like an Angry Bird or Out the Rope. As a studio acquisition by companies who will want the smartphone game teams and processes, acquirers could include Disney, Zynga or EA Sports. So they have identified companies that may want to acquire the entire company. Acquisition from media companies such as Warner, Turner, who may want to convert their valuable IP into smartphone games, and an acquisition from companies like Rovio for our successful portfolio of games and add our skills of producing hit games. So they have different options of how the VCs and the investors could make a profitable exit from the venture in the 3 years' time. And then it's a bit about the founders. So they have the CEO. He knows which games should be made and why. So he's the man with the instinct and the research. The CTO knows how to make games. He knows to pick the games and he knows to convert the games. And the CEO knows how to run the company, get it financed, and how to market it and its products. So the 3 founders complement the skills of each other, and that's why they have been able to come with a plan, and the investors could feel that the team has the required skills needed to make this plan a huge business startup. Now they also have some mock questions. As we said that as you go along, the pitching process includes some questions. So sample question is, do we plan to provide a distribution channel as well? Yes, they say. We will have a website and an app, but will not build it as a destination site. We will let consumers discover it as they go along. Who will own the IP of the games developed by you? It's a good question. We will own the IP in a 50-50 ratio or even higher depending on how we negotiate the deal. Another question is, how will you drive awareness of the apps that you promote and make? Isn't marketing a big budget that doesn't feature in your costs? They have only said they would market using social media and PR marketing, so it's an obvious question. So how they answer it? Well, we believe that selecting the right game type and title is half the battle won. Also, we will extract certain media promotion from the game's publisher since it helps them as well. And finally, we believe that apps get discovered virally more than anything else through word of mouth. We just need to make fun and exciting apps. That's what they believe is the success mantra. So we are at the end of the presentation. We discussed the template on why you need a business funding pitch, what should be included, what should you say, what should you avoid, how and how much to say, and we also discussed a live example of an online gaming website. So I guess this should help you prepare a business plan, run through the pitch for yourself, your team, and finally make it to a VC conference or a meeting and make a successful pitch and get funded. So thank you very much.